Hey, Tom here, FlipAnythingUSA. So on my blog, I share how I made my fortune in real estate, starting at 19 years old, millionaire by 28. And of course, that was a long time ago. Today, we're going to take a look at Meet Kevin and his take on the stocks and how they might be affected by Trump getting COVID. And so that's what we're going to do next. All right, so this thing just popped up in my feed, and so I thought, you know what, I was actually just about to do a little, I was about to do a video on Graham Stephan and Kevin Leary, and that'll be coming up next, I guess. But I, I thought this was interesting, the debates and all. It's no secret, I think Trump is the best thing that's happened to our economy in a long time. As somebody that has importer, exporter, many employees that got a raise because of the Trump tax cuts, and I'm talking about everybody that makes under $400,000, which is all of my employees, all got a raise, and I didn't, but they did. Now there were some breaks for business, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's kind of how things work. That's why our economy is so good. We got record employment, every race, sex, everybody's working, pre-COVID, and now that the COVID's upon us, it's starting to go away, and although we had a big drop, big record comeback, all of a sudden, the numbers are coming back really, really strong. And, I'm concerned. I certainly don't want a change of administration. I think, I can just see it. I can feel it. And, I've seen the results. As somebody that's been an importer, exporter, getting ripped off by the Chinese for 20 years, I can tell you right now, those tariffs and the actions that he's taken have made a big difference, and it continues to make a big difference. And so that's just my personal opinion as a businessman, and as a real estate investor. What I really make the most money from, of course I want them. I mean, the economy's good when people are working, and things are better. They got more money to spend, and things are good. So, but let's look at Kevin's take on this, and we'll watch some of this. And I don't. Listen, I've bought some stocks in here and there, but to be honest, my stock's on my shelves. I'm a real estate investor in cash. I don't have a 401k. I make money on real estate. That's what I do. I'm a real estate investor, and I've got some business interests and things too, but primarily, of course, I'm very interested in the economy and who's going to be running it. And I do like a businessman. It's been very, very good for the country. So let's go. Let's watch a little Meet Kevin here and see this. I'll probably run it in high speed like I always do. And if there's any problems with audio or anything, you guys let me know right away, and I'll fix it.
Hey everyone, Kevin here. By now, it's very likely that you've already heard that Donald Trump tested positive for COVID-19, along with First Lady Melania Trump, following news that earlier today,
might be a little fast.
Tested positive. In this video, I'm going to break down my expectations for what this means for the stock market and the election going forward. Hope Hicks, by the way, had flown with the president as recently as October 1st and was pictured without a mask boarding plane. The same day, Donald Trump also tested positive. On board the plane were the following individuals: Melania Trump, she has also tested positive already, Representative Jim Jordan in the House of Representatives, Alice Marie Johnson, Robert O'Brien, Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, Donald Trump Jr., Kimberly Guilfoyle, Eric Trump, Lara Trump, Tiffany Trump, Derek Lyons, Bill
It's all family, pretty much.
Danny Hurt, Dan Scavino, and Stephen Miller. And immediately following news of this COVID outbreak, we have the Dow futures and, well, all futures down and the VIX volatility index up. Now, first, let's talk about what this means for the market and the election, and then we'll talk about what we should do about this. I'll leave the futures up just for a moment so we can see this. First, uncertainty. Investors hate uncertainty and instability, and folks, this is both. The risk of dying from COVID in your 70s is 6.08% per advisory.com, and even just this slight chance does have the effect of increasing the chances of a Biden victory, which some believe may be associated with lower stock prices. However, economists have already...
So I'll just say something right now. I've met Mr. Trump, just before he got elected, I was at an event. I met him. I met Rudy Giuliani, and I met Don Jr. as well. And there's some other well-knowns you'd know. And let me tell you, that guy is healthy as a horse. He is a sharp. I mean, you can see it. He's just super sharp. He's not sharp for 70. He's sharp for 35. He is a really, really smart guy. And if you've ever got to interact with him like I did, you'd know he just listens to every word you have to say, and he's got follow-up questions, and they're good ones. He knows what he's talking about, and he listens. He's a really, really good, but he's a healthy guy. He's a healthy guy. This is going to be nothing to him. I'm telling you. I can't say I even know anybody personally that has COVID now, except for the person I met, Trump, President Trump. But I've had some tenants that I've heard about have had it, and some other things like that, and some, but just one-offs, people that I don't really know directly, and everybody survived. I don't know of anybody that's died, and the people that have died have been people that had a secondary problem, and to my knowledge, Trump doesn't have any other issues other than being over 70. So I think this is a nothing for him. But let's keep watching.
Debunked that a Democratic win would cause the stock market to crash, mostly because generally the stock market moves with the trajectory of the broader market, despite a Democratic or Republican election. I made a complete video breaking this down on its own, so I'm going to take that conclusion and talk about that in this video, but if you want to see that complete video with the research and where that came from, I will link that video down below. Instead, right now, we have to focus on the fact that the revelation that Donald Trump has tested positive is very likely to create at least 2 weeks of mass uncertainty. And we're going to go through a time frame here in just a moment. But keep this in mind. If Donald Trump's condition worsens over the next 14 days, it is very likely that the market will drop even more than we're just seeing now, which is about a 1.5% to 2% decline in stock futures trading. This is all, in my opinion, going to be condition dependent. The prospects of a prolonged illness that could potentially delay the likelihood of pushing the election back past November 3rd will continue and will enhance uncertainty in the market and prolong that uncertainty. It's too soon, obviously, to know how this Trump diagnosis will affect any kind of actual operations. How will this affect stimulus? How will this affect what Congress is doing? It's too soon to know these things.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, the uncertainty in the market is people are concerned the election is going to be stolen. There's a ton of mail fraud and voter fraud associated with mail-in votes, and the reason that is because this ballot fraud that everybody's that Trump's concerned about, and personally I'm concerned about too, and it probably will. Like I said, they're not going to know the results of the election no matter what. Not the day of the election, not like they normally would. And the reason for that is typically, if you want a mail-in ballot, you can request it and you get it sent to you. You fill it out and you send it in. Well, the problem is they're sending out unsolicited ballots. In other words, they're just sending them to everybody, whether they ask for them or not. Now, if you've ever had mail stolen from you, which I have, and I have lots of tenants that have had it, so I have locked up mailboxes and everything else. But also, if you get into more of the impoverished neighborhoods, the poor neighborhoods, poor people generally don't vote. They don't. And a lot of students don't vote too. Well, those ballots are going out regardless. And if you're somebody that looks at it like it's junk mail anyways, there's people that'll just say, here, yeah, buy me a pack of cigarettes, you can have it. Or, give me a cigarette and you can have my ballot. And then it allows somebody else to fill that ballot out and mail it in. And also the possibilities of people stealing ballots from areas that they think will vote a certain way. So, either side can cheat with this stuff. There's just no question either side can cheat. But that's the concern. That's the big uncertainty, I think, with right now in the stock market. Look, everything's gone up. Everything's done very, very well under Trump. And, I mean, you can try to say COVID's his fault, but that's ridiculous. That's a joke. But the bottom line, he's done really well with the economy. Everybody's gotten a raise under $400,000. I had people coming up and thanking me for the raise they got. And I told them, I didn't give you the raise. The raise came from President Trump. He cuts your taxes. But they thought I actually physically had added to their check, but I didn't. There was just less taken out. So let's keep watching.
To be very condition dependent. Certainly, we would expect some debates to be rescheduled and some rallies to be canceled. Donald Trump has already canceled in-person events. These are natural things that probably won't make that much of a difference. However, if Donald Trump's condition worsens, that's when I expect we will see much more drama. And in order to have a similar expectation here, we can try to go back to, a similar leader having COVID, Boris Johnson. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom seemed to match a 14-day time frame for his stint with the coronavirus. Boris Johnson is 18 years younger than Donald Trump, and Boris Johnson was first COVID positive on March 27th. By April 6th, he was in the hospital, and there were fears that Boris Johnson was going to end up on a ventilator because he went into the ICU. And folks, if that happens, if we follow that path, the Boris Johnson path, within just 1 week.
Hey, you know what? Somebody that's watching, look up Boris Johnson and see if he didn't have any secondary issues. You know, like if he was a diabetic, or because this is the kind of stuff that kills the people when they've already got a different condition that's damaging to them. But Boris Johnson, if someone wants to take a look at that, look it up. That'd be great.
Week of Boris Johnson falling ill or becoming COVID positive, then I expect a lot of drama in the stock market. By April 12th, Boris Johnson had recovered, fortunately. However, these are very, very intense weeks that we now have coming up. And the fact of the matter is this. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, the first thing that we heard out of the United Kingdom for the first week was all is good. Prime Minister has mild symptoms, but he's expected to make a full recovery. We heard reassuring messages, and folks, I believe between now and Monday, my expectation will be the same. We will hear at Pennsylvania Avenue exactly what we heard from Downing Street. Everything is fine, no need to panic.
And everything did turn out fine. There's no reason to get people panicked for nothing.
We've got control of everything. Trump is still at the reins. Everything is continuing as normal. Trump and Melania are just quarantining. That's the expectation. But folks, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week is when we'll be at day 5, day 6. That is potentially where we want to mark our calendars and pay specific attention and maybe go risk off on our portfolios, because there might be even more volatility on those days in the event that Trump and
Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, so war game. I don't know who Boris Johnson is. Listen, but you said he's overweight. So listen, being fat, being overweight, being obese. Listen, you're already half dead already. So those are the kind of things that can happen. Oh, Anne Marie, give me some slack. Thanks for watching. Hang out. We'll get to it.
Melania experience not just symptoms, because right now they're asymptomatic, but worse or heavier symptoms. Now, everybody doesn't follow the same COVID trajectory. It's quite possible that Trump and Melania could be asymptomatic for the next 2 weeks, and everything goes back to normal. Great.
That would be my
However,
guess.
It's also possible that they're asymptomatic for the next 10 days, and then they have heavier symptoms. We have no idea. They're all going to respond differently. But my expectation is, based on averages, we're most likely to see most volatility around Trump's condition between Tuesday and probably Thursday of next week. If Trump's condition worsens then, we're going to move in the stock market. So be prepared for that. Also, if you have a lot of margin outstanding, you might want to start taking a little bit of your emergency money and starting to pay that down so you can be prepared to ride the bumpy wave. I personally do believe that, given Donald Trump's age, and I understand the odds, this might not be easy for Trump. Now again, the chances of him passing away, statistically, 6.08%. The fact that he's the president, probably has access to medical care that a lot of us can't afford.
Actually, I think this is going to be great because, Trump was a big advocate of the hydrochloroquine. And, of course, no matter everything that comes out of his mouth, every suggestion, everything he does, right or wrong, it gets condemned. But this will really be a really good test if he goes and gets the hydrochloroquine or whatever they use to knock it out of you, and he takes it and he doesn't lose a step. And I think that's really probably what will happen. What's interesting, it'll just be interesting. Let's just keep listening for a little bit, then we can talk.
Probably say the odds are even lower, but it's the uncertainty over the next week that we want to pay attention to. And certainly, what we should always do as humans is wish somebody well who is ill, and that's what we need to do. But in this video, we're not focused on politics. We are focused on stocks and what this means for the election and what this means for stimulus. So let's go in order. Number 1, stocks. Kind of just broken this down, but what I want you to keep in mind is, if you're thinking, okay, this is a buying opportunity, be prepared. Keep some dry powder ready in the event we have worse news next week. I would expect substantially more volatility next week because...
Now, look, nothing against Kevin, but Kevin has barely got his ears wet in stocks. And so I can tell you, people that have been trading stocks for years, they still got like throwing a dart at a dartboard and covered with stocks. I can tell you the only thing I know for sure is Kevin doesn't know. And that's for everybody, really, for everybody. Because the problem with stocks, folks, is that they're so news sensitive, right? Like you got a company, it's going great, it's got tons of assets, everything's going well, and then somebody gets sick, and then all of a sudden it loses 25% of its value. Well, it didn't have the value in the first place. That's just a fact. And that's the problem with the stock market. It's so easily manipulated by the big hedge fund managers, the guys that have tons of money, believing they can use this as an opportunity to make stocks drop so that people panic and get out, and then they'll slip in and buy. And I mean, they've got the power to do that. And it's the little guys that get screwed. So, and believe me, when I say little, I mean people that are worth less than, half a billion. So let's keep watching.
The world panicked when we heard that Boris Johnson was in the ICU. Boris Johnson is 18 years younger than Donald Trump. Regarding the election, if Donald Trump has an extended stint or an extended experience with COVID-19, it is possible, in my opinion, that the election could be delayed. Now, probably not long, but it's possible that we could see the election move to November 10th, November 17th, or some sort of other date. After all, the United States and our citizens, we're expecting another couple debates, and the reality is Trump's going to have to well and fully recover to be capable of engaging in another debate. After all, without the opportunity for Trump to have debates, it is very likely that any results of the election, if it continues to be held on November 3rd, will fall into question. But obviously, time will tell. Now, regarding stimulus, what does this mean for stimulus? Obviously, way too soon to know. The stock market is tentatively awaiting a stimulus deal. Perhaps this will continue to encourage moving a stimulus deal along. It certainly does not hurt a stimulus bill, but this doesn't mean that we want to wish that people get COVID to get a stimulus check. We're just talking facts in this video. The reality is that the fact that the entire White House administration could potentially now have COVID might increase the chances of seeing a stimulus package. Certainly when we consider the fact that Donald Trump has already asked...
I don't think so. I don't know how he draws that conclusion. But let's keep listening. Let's just keep listening.
And Mark Meadows to increase their offers for stimulus. But keep in mind, Mark Meadows is generally, while he's okay with a $1.5 to $1.6, $1.7 trillion stimulus package, he's generally anti-spending more. If he falls ill with COVID, my expectation is that Mark Meadows might be more tempted to say, okay, yes, we will need more stimulus. But obviously, we will have to see.
I don't know why Kevin draws the conclusion that that the world changes because one or two individuals has COVID in the White House. It doesn't change a damn thing. But anyways, let's keep listening.
We have no idea that Mark Meadows is even COVID positive. So we'll have to see what parts of the administration end up COVID positive to know how this is going to ricochet throughout our leadership. After all, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin just met with Donald Trump. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin also met with Nancy Pelosi. That means Nancy Pelosi is probably going to be on the contact list of people exposed to this potential circle. So we could literally wake up tomorrow, October 2nd. You might be watching this on October 2nd, so you'll already know, but I would not be surprised for us to see multiple more COVID diagnoses. So my expectations, the market's going to open lower. We already know that. Just take a look here at futures already. We know that the market is going to open up lower. The VIX is up 10%, the volatility index. If we get multiple more COVID positives tomorrow, which is Friday, so October 2nd, and over the weekend, then it's very likely that Monday and Tuesday are going to be painful in the stock market. If then we start hearing that people's conditions are worsening, just be prepared with some dry powder and keep yourself out of margin and be prepared. We are going to be in for a rocky road. Buckle up. I will keep you updated. Please consider subscribing if you want continued updates and my perspectives. And folks, we'll see you soon.
So, anyways, it was just interesting. I was just watching it for the first time with you guys as well. So, Anne Marie, there you are. If you just got here, look, FlipAnythingUSA, that's my channel. Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. This is a book I wrote. It's been a bestseller on Amazon Kindle, and now it's on Audible, and it's selling like crazy on Audible now too, which is really cool. If you just got here, please subscribe. I'm a real estate investor, pure and simple. That's what I do. I made my money investing in real estate. It's not like I had a big cash cow that I just kept taking money from and buying real estate. I actually parlayed real estate investments and real estate profits into more real estate investments, and that's how I build my wealth, and that's what I do. And you want to call in? Let's call in. Go ahead. Sure. If somebody wants to call in, here it is, right here, and we'll take a call, but you'll have to bear with me here because I'm not even all that used to this Android phone, but it might be a disaster too. So, but hey, maybe hold off calling in just a second. But and then we'll get ready. Let's take a look at some of the questions that have already come in. All right, Anne Marie. Hey, glad you are laughing. That's funny. Okay. Yeah. Everyone will tell. Yeah. I mean, listen. Everybody is going to get it eventually, okay? And, that was anticipated for everybody to get it. It's not like everybody's supposed to get a vaccine and never get it. I mean, if you guys remember, the beginning was it's opened the country up so that we can keep up with the rate of people infected so they can be treated. And that's pretty much, I think we're past that point. Florida's wide open. Tennessee's wide open now, and they're not having tons of trouble. People... I think they've the fear has been, unfortunately, when you politicize something, you ruin it. You ruin, it doesn't matter if it's, global warming or whatever your issue is, abortion, anything else like that. When you politicize it, you ruin it because people go to extreme right, extreme left, and then, then the common folks like us are sitting there thinking, well, gee, wouldn't, if I was president, I'd do this. Or two people can get along and come up with a perfectly rational way to fix things. But it's beyond that. It's money. It's money. Everything's driven by money for the most part, primarily. That's one of the reasons I'm a big fan of Donald Trump, is that he came in a billionaire, and he he got attacked, and then he just was that much more for the people, for the little guy, and I believe he is. And because I've seen the result. I've seen the result in businesses that I own, and I've seen the result in real estate. I've seen just our economy come back, really, really strong. And I don't think anybody else could have done what he's done. I just don't think anybody else could have done. And he's got, like I say, for every believe me, for every Democrat that's against him, there's at least another Republican against him that's elected. I'm talking about elected officials. There's so many of them. Just manipulate the heck out of the system, because there's money in selling out. There's money in selling out America's interests. And I'll give you a perfect example. I make a product, okay, one of my companies, right? Costs about $10,000, to buy it, okay? Well, I send it over to China. They're going to tack on 25%. Now it costs $12,500 in China. Now, China copies my product. They copy it almost identically. They copy it, make it for less. They send it over here. We even have, help in some cases. We make it cheaper for them to send over there through the mail system. So they send it over here. It doesn't get taxed at all. Comes onto our soil, no tax. Gets sold from one state. This is before they were taxing, for a while there. Anything could come in here, and whatever you brought in from China, you could sell it into another state and not charge tax. So basically, they're copying my product, bringing it into our country and selling it tax-free, and all the profit would go back to China. That's a big problem for business, big time. But anyways, that has been the case. And I see, okay, flipping more. He doesn't seem like he cares for Trump much. But again, why don't you get specific? Throw something down specifically. That's what I find out. The anti-Trumpers have a very hard time being specific. They'll say he's a racist, and then they can't name a single issue. They can't point to anything. And there's a lot of stuff like that. But, that's politics. So, and I don't want to make this a big political thing. But what I can tell you about stocks, the people are nervous about the country going back. The economy is doing really well pre-COVID, okay? And, people want to say, that was already set up by Obama. No, Obama did not cut your taxes. That's what really helped this country, is the tax cuts. That helped everybody making less than $400,000. I had people working for me, their paychecks jumped $28 a week, and it was only because of the tax cut. And that's a big jump for a lot of people, and for me, that saves me, that's like $1 an hour, giving somebody $1 an hour, and so it really helped. It really helped the country. It just did, and it helped everyone. All right, so I don't know what you guys think. Again, the stock market in general is kind of volatile. I mean, look at the COVID interrupted it terribly, and then a big comeback, and then it went back down. And as far as Tesla stock goes and stuff like that, I'll say one thing about Elon Musk. I mean, he made a lot of politicians very rich, and if you're going to get a lot of money from the government, you're going to get your cars subsidized and paid for. That's what you do. You grease the palms of the people that have control of the purse strings, and Elon Musk did a very good job of that. Hey, Liam, how you doing? Yeah, flipping more. Why don't you get specific, say something. I just told you he had tax cuts and everything else. You got something to say that he's done bad? Go ahead and speak it. Otherwise, you just sound like you're just repeating what you've been told by, probably MSNBC or something. Anyways, so hey, Liam, sorry we didn't get you. What's happening on your deal? If you want to call in, we can talk about that. Sound like you found something to put your money into. I was hoping to hear more on that. Liam actually just finished a mentorship that we had, and he just come right out of the gate swinging, and he hit some home runs right off the bat, which was really cool. So did Ron, also Rui over in I'm gonna say, where is he? I'm gonna say Portugal, but I'm sure that's wrong. Oh, hey Karen, I'm glad you're back here. Yeah, I gave you here's the number. Here's the number, Karen, right here. Assuming you're in the USA. Okay. Hi, Tom. I have a land contract for 4 years at $1,300 a month, 4.5%, 150,000, 15,000 down. Do you include a vested interest? I'm not sure I understand the question, Allman. Oh, yeah, Liam. Good. Well, man, I hope you get it signed. You're waiting for the signature to come back, I take it, right? Hey, you know what, Delta? That's a good question. So, look, I want to point. Let me show this to everybody here. Let me get this on here. Okay, so look, Delta, this is already on the website. And take a look at this. So, look, Delta's asking about how do you set the price for assignments? Well, the way I do it is I charge I try to get somebody to pay me as much as possible, as much as I can possibly get away with, and still make them happy. But you don't have much risk, so that's what's pretty cool. So what I'm doing right now, let me go into calculators here. All right, so look, let me go to the main page here. So look, this is. Oh, I got my logo on here. Let me get rid of my logo here. Golly. Okay, there we go. So look, this is FlipAnythingUSA.com right here. And I'm actually going to put the calculator on the outside of the site so that you can get to it. But within the members area, and I of course I can, but in Delta I know you can too. So we'll go in here to calculators. And so this is a fixed rate payment calculator here, interest only calculator here, and here's the deal calculator. So let's say you had a property that's worth $250,000 and you got a contract price of $200,000, and now you charge an assignment fee of $1,000, right? Let's just make it $5,000. So in other words, this is something if you had a property set up to buy for $250,000 or for $200,000 that's worth $250,000, you potentially could assign that to somebody, okay? And so with this, let's bear with me here. Hey, I'm gonna put you on standby for a second, but you're on.
All right.
Okay, so take a look at this. This is the deal calculator, but so, okay, let's see. Yeah, so you can see. I mean, this is just simple. I mean, this could be any value. Say this is 100,000, and again. Contract price would have say 65,000, and there you go. Potential profit 30,000, 35%. This is, in other words, this would make it easy for you, Delia or Delta, for you to just kind of show somebody, look, I've got it. It's worth 100. I'm getting it for 65. Give me $5,000. Take my position, and then that's what they'd see. So look, we got a call here. Let's take the call. And bear with me, caller, for a second. All right. Hey, caller, you're on, and you've got, you might need to turn down the volume on whatever you're listening to, I think.
All right.
So, what's up?
Oh, nothing. I was just calling in. This is Liam from New Jersey.
Oh, hey, Liam. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you called. Didn't know who was on the line. Sorry, I didn't recognize your number there. So Liam just finished up mentorship, and so tell us what you got going.
Well, it's actually pretty good situation. It's got all the makings of a great situation. A friend of somebody. Okay, they have a house, and the old lady, the grandma dies. There's 5 heirs. They've been sitting on it for about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Fallen into disrepair. They got a monster renovation bill for the job, and the girl who's representing the heirs, she has a real estate license.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, she put out a number of $250 on this house, and I could get a couple of dumpsters and clean it up and put it on the market for $325 without even doing any improvements.
Wow.
I'm thinking, yeah. So, she said $250. I said $240. She said she would draft up the contract, just talk to everybody, and send it over. So it's really good, I think, because they trust the girl who's a real estate agent. But again, she threw a number out at me, and it's a fantastic neighborhood.
No,
Beautiful house.
Yeah. No, that I can tell you, if you guys have been watching me any amount of time, you know that I say it all the time. It's these it's these probate cases and people getting rid of inherited wealth. It's the most squandered. Inherited wealth is squandered like just nothing else. And it sounds like you're falling into one of those opportunities. I mean,
yeah,
I've made millions.
Honestly, it gets better because it's a solid B neighborhood, right?
Right.
So the fence is in disrepair. There's a in-ground pool that hasn't been open in 10 years. The neighbors are complaining, like they had to send someone over there to repair the fence so now it's really starting to get a thorn in their side,
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, they're getting the pressures.
Yeah,
Is it through the probate? Do they have the permission to sell it at this point? Because the probate courts have been frozen. They have been like a non-essential court case, kind of like I'm using the wrong words, but basically they're a low priority. And I know.
No, I totally understand, and we didn't get that far, but as far as we did get, it's been over a year. They've all decided that nobody wants to take the house. So now their options are, do we renovate and put it on the market, or just do we sell it as it is and whack up the money? And I'm pretty sure that's the way they're going, which is I hope that's the way they're going to go.
Yeah. Now, did you already name it as one of your 1031s? Did you initiate a 1031, by the way?
I don't know if I'm going to do that, Tom. I don't know.
I understand. I understand. Totally, I do. Unless you got something to throw it in. Look, I had 2 1031s going, Liam, and I pulled out of both of them. I just said, the hell with it. And the gains that I was deferring, there's gains, there's money, but it's not as much as it could be. I have some that are, really, really big gains. Well, I have to pay $300,000 or $400,000 if I don't do a 1031. So my damages were not that bad. Yeah. So I said, the hell with it. I'll take the $60,000, $80,000 hit on these last one that I rolled over. I thought I was using previously used 1031 money, but really I was just using, income that I'd already had that was mine. In other words, I'd already paid the tax on it, so it wasn't so bad.
Well, that's you're heavily influenced. I'm out here without a paycheck. You understand what I'm saying? I'm out here.
Well, you're retired now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm retired, as in, like, say, I ain't working no more. Now I got to go out. I don't have any income from. I'm too young to get my pension. I'm out here just grinding out deals, dude.
Yeah. Well, I remember you told me you took a chunk, and then you've been parlaying that into these investments that you're making. And have you been happy so far? You look like you were doing really well last time we interviewed.
Well, listen, the one duplex I picked up for $185 about 100 days ago. Okay,
right.
And we're supposed to close today, but it's not going to happen. It's whatever. And I got that. I got that in contract for $227.
Oh, okay.
For $185. So, I put about $40,000 in improvements, but it's good. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice to have a little more margin on that one, probably, right? But
a little more margin.
Yeah. You sold.
Listen,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I would margin all day long. I'm talking about making $75,000 in 100 days.
Oh, sorry. I think I heard the numbers wrong. It sounded like he had.
You must have.
Yeah.
That's the deal I just described is the deal that would get anybody into the business that's on the fence.
Sorry, give me those numbers again.
185 purchase, 44,000 improvements. No holding cost minimum because I bought it cash, so no financing cost, and 327 is the
Oh yeah, you got $100,000
contract price.
Yeah, well, I think you. See,
87.
I didn't hear the 327, and you started to say 227 again this time. So I think
I may have. I may have.
Okay, but I get it.
I wouldn't have told you about that one if that was the case.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wow, that's like $10,000. But anyway,
yeah, I'm in the wrong business.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's the thing is, and sometimes you got to wait it out to, there's always going to be a good deal. There's always going to be a good deal, but they're not always right there when you need them. And that's the problem with time in a 1031. If you don't know what a 1031, folks, is, basically you sell your property, money goes into an accommodator's account, you don't touch it, it sits there, and now you have to pick another property to buy within 45 days. And if you don't, then you're going to pay the taxes on that property. But what you can do is if you can pick out a property or two, you can pick up to 3 properties within that 45 days, but you got to close one of them within 6 months, at least one. Otherwise, you're not gonna get the benefit of deferring the gain. And sometimes you're just digging and you're just not quite getting the deal. And then sometimes you're weighing, gee, do I pay $100,000 tax on this gain, or do I buy something that's just an average good deal? And so that's where you get torn, because you don't want to tie up your capital, but you hate to pay the taxes, and sometimes you weigh out, well, I just closed it and it's after the first of the year. I got 12 months to play with that money, so before you have to pay the taxes. So anyways, but it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have. So I'm it's like I said, welcome to the club. Nobody's going to cry for you because you don't know how to, may not be able to defer your $100,000 gain. But
yeah, well,
that's okay.
Honestly, you know what? I have spoken to an accommodator, and I don't know. He seemed to be pretty easygoing. And if you commit to if you relinquish the property and decide you want to pay taxes, the way it was explained to me, there's no penalty. It's just you pay the taxes and you pull out of it.
Okay, there is and there isn't. I can tell you why. You got to watch out for this, and this is a little bit new to me too, to be honest, because I've done a bunch of them. I've probably done at least 10 1031s in the past. So this 1031s used to cost like $3,000 to get one initiated, get an accommodator. This time it's only like $800. It's only like $800 to have an accommodator, set it up, get it going. And so you get that going. Well, so you're going to lose that $800. If you don't make a deal, you lose. You're going to pay some accommodator fee, but there's no penalty from the government, except if you name a property that you're going to buy within that 45 days and then you back out, they want to hold your money for 6 months. That's a new government rule, but you can still fix that. But what you got to do is, in this case, they just wanted, a written demand letter, a good reason for why they should let it loose. And you can call me and I'll tell you about that stuff. I'll talk to you personally on that one. But if you run into that issue, or anybody that's watching, just call me and we'll talk about it. But I'm not going to say it here. Not that it matters that much, but it's just a little bit involved.
Listen, Tom, there was another matter I wanted to discuss with you. If maybe you could call me, or you could give me a time to call you. I'd like 10 minutes. I got to lay something out for you.
Yeah, no problem, man. I can give you a call after we finish up here. I'll give you a ring.
Yeah, all right. That's cool. Whatever. I'll be watching, and give me a call when you can. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Liam. Right. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
So, Karen, if you want to get in a call, go ahead. You can call. You were looking for the number earlier. And I'll put it up here right here. Which, it's funny. This is actually this phone belonged to an employee of mine from 8 years ago. Still has her voice on it for voicemail. So don't ever call this expecting me to pick up. This is strictly a text phone or a utility, using it like I am right now. Okay, so Karen says, I'm looking at a 3-bedroom, 3-bath property that looks a bit outdated. It's currently rented for $1,500 a month. It's priced at $185,000. I plan to lightly remodel and make it more modern. And what kind of interest rate would you get on that, Karen? Which actually, you know what? This is actually interesting. So that doesn't sound like a bad deal on a house, especially if it has the potential to go up in value. Actually, I was just working on a video that I'm going to do on Graham Stephan. Kevin Leary had looked at his portfolio, and I had already kind of evaluated his real estate investments, and it wasn't all bad, but it wasn't all that great either. But a lot of people, 3%. Oh, that's your interest rate? Okay. Yeah, because I just wondered if you actually figured out the cap rate on that. Like I said, you can get, in general on a house, you're almost lucky to get a 6% cap rate, and then the value goes up on the property, and the rents don't keep up with the value, and then at some point what you have to do is you have to ask yourself, let's say your $185,000 house goes up to $385,000. And the rents aren't going to double, right? Okay, the rents aren't going to double. They're going to go up some, maybe 30%. And then what happens is your cap rate drops. It's not going to be nearly as good. And at that point, you have to ask yourself, now, would I buy a house for $385,000 for a $2,500 a month rent? Are basically like that. Like right now, $1,500 on 185 with such a low interest rate, doesn't sound bad at all. Sounds like you're going to make some money, and if that's what you want, it's not a bad investment, is what I'm saying. It sounds okay. Especially, is it worth? What do you think it's worth? I mean, when I buy a house, it's worth 30% more than I pay for it. I mean, that's just a general rule. I might give or take, 5% on that. Sometimes I'll sometimes I'll get something that's more than 50% under market. But sometimes I'll settle for something that's 20% under market. It just depends on the money in my pocket and how busy I want to be looking for other stuff. Let's see here. Okay. Jacob says, looking to buy a bank-owned property, put an offer in 3 months ago. Bank hasn't gotten back. Someone said the old owner still hasn't. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's balled up somehow or another. Okay, Ricky, I've been watching UK YouTubers, and they are going nuts on commercial property. There's lots of people going to the wall and caving up offices into residential. Yeah, I could see people turning things into flats. There's some businesses that are just being killed by Amazon, and your country too. And so, there's a lot of speculation. You'll see a Sears and some of these other places end up just being warehouses and distribution centers for Amazon at some point. And, it's not that far-fetched. I saw a report, and it was just showing hundreds of millions of square feet of new warehouses that were planned to be built in Europe and in the USA to facilitate Amazon stuff. Okay, Jacob talked to the maintenance man taking care of property for the bank, and he said the bank told him they had an offer, which is why I'm assuming it's mine. Why would they? Yeah, you don't know. Listen, you got to really stay close, stay in touch. When I bought properties from banks, and it's been fantastic deals, made a lot of money, millions of dollars, okay, millions. I bought an apartment building for $340,000. I sold it for $1.8 million. Those deals exist, but again, you need to be tenacious and always stay in touch. When somebody has something you want, you got to let them know that you want it, you're going to buy it, you're going to close it. And so it's super important, without becoming a pest, but at the same time, constantly let them know that let's close this deal. So Karen says it is in a college town where there Oh, so you think it might be worth up to 240? So the thing is, I forget what you said. What you're putting down on it, but if that's what you want to do, also, if you could, sounds like you could just buy it and resell it and make $50,000. That, which doesn't sound like a bad idea either, unless you're confident that the values are going to stay. So you got to remember, I started with nothing. So I'd go get a partner. We'd buy a house. We'd make $15,000. I'd get $7,500. He'd get $7,500. Do it again. Maybe I'd make $5,000. He'd make $5,000. Until pretty soon I had about $25,000, $30,000 in my own hands, and then I could actually go buy something where I could either have an owner carried note or I could assume an FHA loan, which is something you can't do anymore. But I had to turn property to create cash. I had a cabinet shop that made okay money. Not really. It was tough. I started a business, so I was having the starting a business problem, which is cash flow. But I was, at the same time, I was taking my real estate, which was a separate business, and I was just building that. And pretty soon the real estate far exceeded any income that I could create from the cabinet shop or really any other business that I could have had at that time. And that's the thing, is you get your part-time. Jim Rohn, listen, if you never heard of Jim Rohn, listen to Jim Rohn. He's been dead 12, 15 years. He's a fantastic motivational speaker, real common sense guy. Highly recommend you listen to him. A lot of people just plagiarize the hell out of him. I always like to give credit where credit's due. But bottom line is, what he tells you to do is always get your side income, build your part-time income, and then pretty soon your part-time income at some point will exceed or match the income that you make working full-time. So your part-time income can exceed your full-time income. That's what happened with me. And you build it up until pretty soon it's like, you know what, I can cut loose the full-time, lower paying stuff, and I can concentrate on what was my part-time and make my part-time income, the most profitable part, a full-time endeavor. And that's what I've done. Of course, now I'm like in my fifth or sixth inning, right? So I'm getting close to where, for me, it's time to, I'm kind of enjoying the returns that I've created over all these times. Okay, so Karen, I'm 19 years old, made about $40K free and clear on eBay last year. Wow, congrats. So I'm just trying to get my first deal going. Well, that's great. I would just say, listen, sounds like you're doing pretty good with your business on that. So always got to keep your seed money going for your business. And then, like I say, go parlay it into a house. I actually bought a house and put a company in it and ran a company out of the house for about 4 years. And then that little house, we blew out of that. And then I built a 16,000 square foot building to take over that place. And then moved into a 26,000 square foot building. And then now it's small. It's smaller again. Almost done with your book. Thanks, Carlos. If you can go interest only, that's always a good way, especially if you intend to flip. It just depends on where you're at with your job and the money and your income level coming in, and but Hank Booker, one of my favorite people when I was younger, he was a multimillionaire when I had nothing, and but I was building cabinets and doing work for him, and he would just say, "Hey Tommy," he goes, "you can never get hurt taking a profit." And that always stuck with me. And he's right, because sometimes I've been greedy and try to hold on to everything. Economy goes down. The next thing you know, I call it the tail wagging the dog. And that's where, I feel like that. I feel like somebody's got me by the tail and they're swinging me around. And because that's me chasing and trying to make as much money as I can because I'm over leveraged. And I've done that. And it's served me well in the long term. But man, it's not something you want to deal with, when you don't have to. And I don't have to anymore. So. So hey, did everybody enjoy the show here, what you've seen so far? I don't normally pick up and look at all that stuff, the stock stuff, but I like the economy, and I'm a fan of business and Kevin's take on stuff. I know he's a young guy, and he's a hell of a YouTuber, makes a lot of money on YouTube. Again, I don't think a lot of his advice is all that valid. But not that he couldn't have some points, for sure. But again, I know what it takes when it comes to a knowledge base. It takes experience, and that's why I tell people, get my book. It's 40 years of experience, folks. I bought property every year for 40 years, and sometimes 20 properties in a single year. You have experiences that you just won't get any other way than by doing, okay? And I've done just so much over so many years, seen so many different downturns and different kinds of downturns, and I've survived them all, and I've still made tens of millions of dollars, and that's the stuff that should be important to people, is learning from somebody that started from nothing, okay? And I don't invite you to invest with me. I don't have a Grant Cardone model. I don't have the Chris Crone model. And to Kevin's credit, too, Kevin makes money. He doesn't ask people to invest with him. And he's got his own money because he's a phenomenal moneymaker. He really is. But let's take a look here. A couple questions and we'll kill it. They're able to make cabinets so cheap from China. Yeah, they just fold them and send them out flat. I wasn't really hurt by the cabinet business in China at the time. But yeah, now everything's sitting over in, I forget what they call it, where, you buy cabinets and they're flat in a box. And okay, and then Rob Phone, have you ever had vinyl plank flooring in? Yeah, I put them in. Actually, I actually like it a lot. There's been real big advances on. Here's the thing: when you put in wood flooring, or even some of that Pergo stuff, if it gets wet, it warps, and it's a stinky, moldy mess, right? There's some of the new vinyl flooring that is virtually waterproof. So you could have a flood, and you could just clean the water out, and guess what? The floor still is perfect. It hasn't shrunk, it hasn't beveled and warped, and that's what happens. The wood flooring will end up barreling, right? Like a barrel. It starts to curve, and so wood flooring's a real nightmare in some properties, but it's not cheap. That vinyl or plastic flooring, it's not cheap, and but it looks good. I just put it in a chiropractic office. I put it in I just did a big one on a. What was that? It was an accountant's office, actually. Another thing that I'm kind of a fan of, and you'll see, I've got my landlord videos. I got to get another. I got a footage from what I did this last week. Because you guys know that I kind of maintain my own properties. When I say maintain, listen, I have full-time maintenance crews. I have full-time management, but I still get involved to a degree to make sure things are really done right the way that I want them, and it's something I enjoy doing, but I like knowing it. I like being on top of my properties. Yeah, I'm not sure, Ricky, where you're going. I bet he made millions on the rise and fall of Grant Cardone. He's gone quite. Yeah, I know. Well, I was kind of struck by the fact that you hadn't seen the video I put on Grant Cardone. I just did a video on him. And I was surprised to see that he wasn't asking for money from people. And then later that day, somebody wrote me and said, "Hey, Tom, this might be why." And he'd had 3 lawsuits filed that day, and then there was 2 or 3 more the following day. So I wouldn't want to be in those shoes as an investor, or I wouldn't want to be in Grant's shoes either, to be quite honestly. But hey. Anyways, hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe. On quite a bit. If you don't have my book, I urge you to get my book. And otherwise, but subscribe. It's open mic here. I'll talk to anybody about anything. When it comes to money and business, I've done a lot of business, but real estate's what I really know, and that's what I can probably be the most helpful with. So thanks for watching, and take care.